I got a lot of respect for people that lie.
Real.
A lot of respect, especially not just like lie and then either admit to it or just do it once.
Yeah,
but I got a lot of respect
deny.
for people that lie continuously.
For sure.
And deny it over and over again and then kind of just get away with it.
I love gaslighting.
And now, I had a lot of respect for Mr. George Anthony DeValder Santos.
For sure.
But he went on Piers Morgan recently for a whole expose, 40 minutes.
Like exposing himself.
And he gave up the game and he apologized.
Like I don't get what possessed him to just like go and do a big interview like this.
Yeah.
And to go to like Piers Morgan of all people to do it.
A fucking Brit.
He's a Brit. Doesn't he like he's not relevant here.
Yeah.
You're a U.S. congressman. Focus on the U.S.
I mean, maybe Piers Morgan has some reach into the U.S., into U.S. audiences.
I think he definitely does.
And people obviously like us that seek it out are going to find this kind of thing. Yeah. Perhaps his constituents will find this kind of thing, or at least hear from, different clips from Piers Morgan's show or whatever it is. But he went on the show, 40 minutes long. So they addressed basically everything that we've brought up on this show, and even some more things that have come out recently. And he got rolled.
Oh, absolutely.
If you get rolled by Piers Morgan, you got to resign.
Piers Morgan was going hard at him, too. It was nuts.
One of the first questions he asks is, if you had known this would be the outcome, where your whole life is on display and everyone's calling you like the biggest liar in United States history, would you have done it? And he goes, no, I never would have done it.
That's probably a lie, too.
No, that probably is a lie, but it's like, leave then.
Yeah, get out. You can choose to leave and exit the public spotlight.
Yeah. I thought it was so bizarre how, so he owned up to never going to college.
Yeah.
Never getting a degree, which is, we pointed out that he never went to, I think it was New York University, and maybe some other place as well. But he basically either ignored or insisted it was true for every other lie that was presented to him. For his mother, for example, was a main topic of conversation.
Not even his mother, even keeping with his educational history. Oh, yeah. Pierce talked about okay, we have proof you didn't go to New York University. And he's like, yeah, you're right, I didn't, but I did go to public university, public school. I've been very honest and forefront about that. And then he pulls up the receipt saying that he did not actually go to public school for at the school he said he went to. Then he's like, yeah, I got my GED, but I was at this. Okay, you got me. I got my GED, but I was at this school for a little bit. And Pierce said, actually, we reached out and there's no record at all of you ever attending any of these schools. And he's like, ugh.
No, my favorite part was when he brought up his mother.
That was gas.
Because obviously George Santos claimed that his mother was in one of the towers on 9/11.
Yeah.
She worked in the World Trade Center. Piers Morgan goes, no, this isn't true. We have a record of literally every person that was in the building that day because it's a very significant moment in American history. Yeah. And your mother is not one of them. And he goes, well, that's just what my mother told me. Completely throwing his dead mom under the bus.
And then he says, well, afterwards, she wasn't in the towers, but she was in New York at the time, and then she got cancer from the particulates after 9/11 in the air.
Yeah. He just kept moving the goalposts.
Absolutely. And then at one point, he gets to the point where, my mother, she was undocumented or something, so I guess they wouldn't know if she was there in the towers or something. Now, would they? And I'm just going based on what she told me, and I'm not coming on here to debate my dead mother. Yeah. And then he continues to debate about his dead mother.
Well, he keeps doing it, and Piers Morgan, he brings up the point that it's like, well, you put this on your campaign website.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how I feel about all of this. It's like he's talked about this in public. A lot of the topics he's talked about in public, a lot of the lies he's made publicly, it's all fair game.
Yeah.
He was the one that kind of didn't really run on, but still, said he was, the first gay non-incumbent Republican elected in New York or whatever it may be for the House of Representatives. And it's like, okay, sure, you are with a man and you are a gay man. I'll just take that at face value. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, by saying this and by lying about so many other things, you are opening yourself up to criticism. It is all fair game at this point. I'm of the opinion that if you're a politician, you should be ready to have your ass blasted all the time.
Absolutely.
You're never free from people
public servant
diving into your history. You have power.
No, that was my favorite part of the interview, though, is when Piers Morgan just starts asking about his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And he goes, did she know you were gay? And he's like, I didn't know that I was gay at the time. And he's like, or were you just lying? Are you sure you didn't know you were gay, or are you lying? Were you lying about being gay to this poor woman?
It was so good. No, it was so
putting
good.
him on blast for that.
It's just like this new brand of Republican. I don't even know if it's a brand. This new like generation, I guess, because George Santos is a pretty young guy, like 35 or something. This new generation of Republicans, they don't have the dog in them like they should.
They don't.
Like Trump, and I know Trump was in a different position, older guy, kind of more charismatic, and he was the president instead of a member of the House, so he didn't really have any leadership holding him back. But Trump would lie, brazenly lie, get called out for it, and just keep lying. He wouldn't stop. He would never admit defeat. He would never apologize. That was kind of his modus operandi of how he did everything. It seems like people like George Santos, they just don't have it in them to do that, and that's what you got to do.
It's like he doesn't have the charisma to like spin it around and be like, well, look at how the left is attacking me.
Yeah, he tried.
He's just kind of taking it and trying to like lie more, but they're not good lies, you know. And then he did the Jewish thing again.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's like, well, I never claimed that I was Jewish. I always said as a party favor trick that I am Jewish.
And everyone loved it.
And everybody thought it was funny, so I kept doing it.
But the funny thing there is that Piers Morgan read off several lines of him saying like, yeah, I'm a proud American Jew. I'm Jewish American. I'm a Latino Jew. Like you said that you were, like without the ish part.
I'm a Jew-ish American. Come on now. Where's the...
No, that was good too. And his first defense really was like, well, every other politician lies, so why am I under the microscope? It's like, bro, that's not a defense. They lie
about like policy thing, like less like things you don't really.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to describe it, but like, yeah, they should be blasted, but he's doing it in such like a particularly weird way, where he's lying about the most like meaningless things, you know.
Yeah, no, it is especially weird how he's handling this. And it's like, sure, maybe other politicians lie about their credentials. That might be the case. I'm sure it is the case for a lot of politicians in Congress. But you've been caught. You don't get to deflect and say, well, look at everybody else. You have to answer for this now. Maybe you can
if you snitch.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
tell
snitch,
us who else
and we'll
is
treat
lying.
you like 6ix9ine.
Anyway, I wish he would have just like kept going. Oh, he also got called out for the drag queen thing.
Oh my God!
Piers Morgan was like, "You were getting very offended that people were posting this photo and saying that look, George Santos, Anthony DeVolder, or whatever you went by when you were in Brazil, you dressed up in drag. You were a drag queen." And he's like, "Nope, that's not true. That's not true." And then Piers Morgan goes, "Well, I have the picture." Then he goes, "Okay, I did it one time." He said, "I did it one time." It's like, dog, come on.
Maybe he thought, I'm going to go on Piers Morgan's like British show so that my constituents in the U.S. have like a less of a chance finding it.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
Like maybe that was the thought process behind going on Piers Morgan.
If they did find out that he was a drag queen, it'd be over for him. I mean, that's like public enemy number one to Republicans right now is drag queens for some reason. But yeah, if you all haven't watched the interview, I'd suggest you go do it. I think it's illuminating.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
They don't got that. He doesn't have that dog in him.
He doesn't.
Not like me. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. We've got quite the episode today. We're going to continue this theme of conservatives lying. That's a big news story we got to talk about. We're going to talk about Florida going woke. The GOP going woke in Florida. Crazy.
And then we're going to talk about punishing Starbucks.
My favorite thing to do, punishing employers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this is usually the point where I tell y'all to go check out the Patreon, etc. But I have a little surprise for you all today.
No.
We've been looking, since we had that the guest episode with Mikhail Goodman, we've been looking to have more politician-type people, political-type people come on the show. And I've been doing some reaching out. I couldn't get this guy to come on directly, but he left a message. And he told me to play it on the pod towards the beginning. And he wanted you to know how he feels about Head in the Office. So let me just play this for you all.
I am America's true President Donald J. Trump, and I have a message for the very fine listeners of this show. I fully support Head in the Office, the greatest podcast of all time. That's right, I love Jeremy and Gage, my two favorite men, the most beautiful men I've ever seen. I know this audience may not be big fans of me, but look, I love content as much as all of you. Today, you can call me Comrade Trump, because today, I fight for the proletariat and all the Hiddo enjoyers in America. That's right, all the Starbucks workers, railroad employees, and ass shakers on TikTok.
Wow.
I am your hero, just like these two big, strong men are my heroes.
Thank you, Trump.
While Meatball Ron is out there ruining the lives of the 15 trans people in Florida, I'm appearing on this wonderful and beautiful show to tell you all that Jeremy and Gage absolutely fuck. I mean, real fuckers, these guys. in the best way possible, too. All that to say, please, for the love of Christ, become a patron. Give these guys your hard-earned dollars like you give up that ass for a real one. These two dudes stole my heart faster than Joe stole the election from me in the horrible, horrible year of 2020. These guys are the real deal, let me tell you. There isn't a dick I wouldn't suck to hang out with Jeremy and Gage in real life. So the least we can do is help these fellas grow. If you're a real American, you'll support Head in the office. If not, you can join the likes of Little Dick Kevin McCarthy and Sleepy Joe.
Wow. Thank you so much, President Trump, for the call in. Again, I'm sad I couldn't book him on the show, but he said he wanted to leave this voice memo for us all.
Wow, that came as such a surprise to me that we had the President Donald J. Trump calling in.
I'll just stick around to the end, and we'll get one more call in. I was able to get another
really?
good get on the show. But I guess if you want to listen to President Trump, I know you all might not be big fans of Donald Trump, but he told you, go become a patron.
He said something. He's reaching across the aisle here. You know how much we love that.
He said that we're pretty cool guys. So go to the description, check out everything, support the show. That's all I'm going to say.
And I guess we can move on to some less cool endorsements from our listeners who dropped 5-star reviews.
Yeah, if you want to help out the show, as always, 5-star review on Apple, and we'll read them here. And that's what we're going to do. We got a couple of those. First one is by Mayviz, subject line W. They say, easily the most entertaining geopolitical podcast out there. I find myself listening to it as often as I can outside my busy day. It helps to both inform me on current political topics as well as keep them chill and not too overwhelming to hear about. Once I get enough courage to tell people about the pod, I will. P.S. Don't forget to sub to the Patreon. P.P.S. You will be indoctrinated into the radical gay communist Fox News warns you of.
That part.
That's what I'm saying.
That part.
If we ever get into a position of power like Donald Trump says we should have, everyone's going to be gay. That's all I'm going to say. All the M&Ms, none of them are going to be fuckable. All of them are going to be gay. Tucker's nightmare.
So much bussy on the M&Ms. Oh my God.
Tucker's absolute nightmare. Let me tell you. Next one is from BLMKC93, new favorite podcast. They say, while I do my listening on Spotify, I had to give you some love to you guys. You came across my For You page on TikTok, and I knew immediately that this would be my new binge-worthy podcast. You bring a comedic flair along with current events that makes the information more easily digestible. I look forward to learning from you, laughing with you, crying with you. Just finished the MSU episode and growing with you. Well, thank you for that review. We'll try to keep the crying to a minimum.
Exactly. You want me to take the last ones?
You got it. That's all you.
Absolutely obsessed! ! 100 out of 10 pod. By Dirty South, LOL. Same story as many others. Saw the pod on TikTok, binge listened, and now I'm completely hooked. As a millennial from Long Island, listening to Jeremy and Gage and their takes on depressing news and topics, not only humorous, but gives me hope for Gen Z and beyond. I can only wish for continued success with the podcast, my brothers in Christ. Next two are going to be from Instagram.
Beautiful.
First runs from the Skyrim Killable Children mod.
Great.
Hi, boys. I'm a longtime listener from the Lone Star State and Chad Sunday subscriber. Sadly, I don't have Apple Music and have to leave my 5-star review here. I found y'all on TikTok and started listening when Biden fumbled his first bag. Since then, I have been rewarded with banger after banger episode and eagerly wait for the next one. You guys make wading through the political wasteland much more bearable. 5 out of 5 stars. Become a patron. Biden Cowboy emoji.
Fumbled his first bag. That's a throwback.
Been listening for 87 weeks. That's crazy.
That's a dedicated listener. Thank you, Skyrim Killable Children.
I'm saying. Next review coming in from Adam, allegedly. 5 stars, doing my civic duty. I'm a new listener on Spotify who found you guys on TikTok. I'm generally not super into podcasts, but this is one of the 3 that have held my attention. I'm glad I found some well-researched fellows who sit close to where I do on the political spectrum, who are my age and in my state. I now look forward to listening every Thursday at approximately 2 a.m. since I work nights and strictly listen on the clock. Keep up the good work, and I hope you're both doing well. I fuck with time theft.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely.
You should listen while you shit on the clock.
You got other things you got to do, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Work thing can take so much from you.
If any of you become a patron or you are a patron right now, you'll notice we're recording on a Friday. That's crazy. We're going to be a full 1.5 weeks behind the news cycle by the time we get back.
But yeah, the next episode that's going to be filled with content.
That's right. We'll have much to cover.
I'm driving to Florida tomorrow with my girlfriend for a little spring break action.
Not that this episode isn't full of content.
Going to see Meatball Ron in person. Hopefully. I can call him
not in a
Meatball
threatening
Ron.
way.
Non-threatening.
As a fan.
As a
journalist.
fan, I would like to just meet him and be like, Meatball Ron, a couple questions.
Yeah.
And then I could ask him the hard hitters.
I don't think he would. That's kind of Italiophobic of you to say.
Yeah.
I actually denounce any mention of Meatball Ron from the previous episode.
Meatball Ron, I cook it a pizza.
One day, if we ever get on Piers Morgan and they're like, so do you regret naming your episode Meatball Ron? I'll say, yeah, I'm so sorry.
I say, God, I'm so sorry.
And that's when I'm trying to get a job for Meatball Ron, President Meatball Ron.
True. And I completely renounce the endorsement from a former President Donald J. Trump because he called Ron Meatball Ron.
I think if Ron DeSantis gets to like presidential level, he's running in the primary, running in the general, whatever it is, we need to pull up to one of his rallies if he comes to our state with just like meatball signs.
So fucking cool.
Just giant like what do they call it? Just giant signs with meatballs on them, spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh, that'd be gas. And
you would know.
Maybe we could pull a crowd with like the Michigan listeners, and we could do like one of those things like in stadiums where like they flip the signs up and they hold it above, and it's just one big meatball.
Giant meatball.
You know what I'm saying? That'd be kind of sick. Actually,
that'd be dangerous. Probably we'd probably get attacked. Time to get into the news.
Absolutely, but it'd be so cool. Yeah, news time.
Let's get right into the news. We're going to talk about conservatives lying. That's our first news segment. Oh, I guess we're talking about it for a second time today, conservatives lying. You may all recall back in 2020, 2021, Fox News was pushing the election lie pretty hard, right? This idea that Joe Biden lost and Donald Trump had the election stole from him, but Joe Biden is still the president right now. One strategy they used to raise concern about the legitimacy of Biden's election was by saying that the voting machines used in states like
Dominion voting
Arizona
machines.
Specifically were fraudulent, right? They were switching votes from Donald Trump over to Biden when they were put through the machine.
Notoriously, infamously, Hugo Chavez hacked the Dominion voting machines to sway the election.
That is the most notorious example, which is that I had written down too, which is that they claimed that socialist Hugo Chavez from Venezuela was rigging the machines, even though Hugo Chavez died in 2013.
Yep.
I thought that was an interesting claim, and that one's been around for a while, right? That's one that people were dunking on for quite a while. But yeah,
he's playing the long game from the grave.
The lawsuit here, or I guess what I was about to get into, is that there is a lawsuit that has been filed by Dominion Voting Systems, which is the company that controlled the machines or provided the machines, I should say. They submitted a lawsuit. They filed a lawsuit a while ago. Maybe it was back in 2020 or early 2021. They filed a defamation lawsuit against Fox News for Fox News straight up lying about Dominion software and Dominion voting machines. So some new information has come up about that lawsuit recently.
Have they not been able to talk about Dominion voting machines since then?
I don't know if they haven't been able to, but their lawyers have probably said, like, cool, the Jets were under a lawsuit right now.
Because I know, was it Newsmax or OAN had to get on and apologize about it, right? Like, I think Newsmax or OAN got fully sued for something with their role in the election fraud lie.
There's another company called Smartmatic that is also suing.
Oh, it could have been Smartmatic that sued.
I think their lawsuit might have wrapped up though, or is closer to wrapping up than Dominion's is.
I just remember it was like, oh my God, it was only a couple months after the election when Newsmax or OAN had to get on air and be like, yeah, I'm sorry, we actually can't say this anymore. That was a lie. The voting machines were fine.
I do remember that. But right now, Fox News, much bigger company, is being sued by Dominion, and the charge is defamation, as I said. And now proving defamation in the United States is really difficult because of the First Amendment. You basically have to prove that the person you're suing, one, acted with malice, so they intended to do harm, and they knew that they were lying about what they were saying, so intentionally slandering your company's name or lying about you in some capacity. And I would argue, before even getting into this, that Fox News definitely hits both of those criteria.
100%, yeah.
Because they absolutely knew they were lying. And the thing about Fox News is that we, as political commentators, and just about everyone that pays attention to politics that isn't fucking insane, knows that Fox News lies all the time.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's their business model. That's their whole shtick.
And we know that they cover up some of their lies by claiming that their late night programs are entertainment. Not even their late night, like their primetime programs are entertainment. Famously, Fox News was sued about a year ago, and in court they argued that Tucker Carlson can't be held responsible for some of the things he says because he's an entertainment show, not a news show.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole business model for Fox News is lying, being inflammatory, making shit up. Yeah. Just overall misleading their audience. And the reason this is back in the news now, and again, we've known for a long time Fox News is just completely made of bullshit, right? They don't actually report on the news. But the reason this is back in the news now is because we have real textual evidence that even the Fox News hosts and the CEO of the company knew they were lying.
Sick.
And they continued pushing the same lies, because we have Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Brett Baer, Laura Ingraham, I believe, and even Rupert Murdoch caught, again, textual evidence saying that the election fraud allegations were completely baseless. And then they continued their coverage of the election fraud allegations. More specifically, though, they wrote in emails and texts to each other about how Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani were just totally lying, and they thought they were nutcases, insane, shouldn't be on the news, but again, continued having them
and then
on
I was
the
going to
news.
say, they had, like, Tucker had Sidney Powell on a couple times,
multiple times. Tucker Carlson specifically said that Sidney Powell is lying. That's a direct quote in a text to Laura Ingraham. And then to his producer, Tucker Carlson said, "Do the executives understand how much credibility and trust we've lost with our audience? We're playing with fire here for real." Literally an exact quote of what Tucker said. Textual evidence.
That's so funny seeing Tucker absolutely overestimate his audience.
Yeah. And this was back around the time of 2020. I believe this was right after when they were spreading all of the lies. So before January 6th happened.
Yeah.
Which is an important bit of context, because they don't really know what the result of their actions is going to be. But they know here that Sidney Powell is lying, Rudy Giuliani is lying, and they themselves are lying when they're pushing these allegations, or quote unquote, just asking questions. Sean Hannity also said that Rudy, quote, is acting like an insane person. He also called Sidney Powell a fucking lunatic. That's an exact quote. Rupert Murdoch, who is the CEO of the company, not even an American, by the way.
No, he's like an Australian, right?
Yeah.
And he owns Sky News and Fox News?
Yes. He owns a couple companies, for
sure.
he
owns companies in the UK and here that do bad things.
Yeah, really bad. Anyway, Murdoch referred to the claims being made as crazy stuff. That's a quote. And he said, quote, "It is very hard to credibly claim foul everywhere." So again, we have prominent figures in Fox News, the leader of the company of Fox News, knowingly pushing these lies about the 2020 election fraud, and seemingly trying to get away with it, or just making up lies about this Dominion company in general.
But it's also like weird to see, because if you have all these like bigwigs within Fox News saying things like, it's very hard to like do a credible story about this, it's very hard to at least pretend we have credibility, everyone knows she's lying, why did they still go through with the stories?
Oh, I have a theory that we'll get to.
Oh, let's go.
I have a theory. But first, we got to talk about Sidney Powell. This part, I found, so I was doing research for the section yesterday, yesterday morning. And then this part I found out today after just kind of looking through the story once again, making sure I had everything right. And I can't believe I missed this, because this is fucking insane. So you remember back when Sidney Powell was claiming that she had tons of evidence on the way, right? The Kraken is coming.
We're going to unleash the Kraken.
She kept saying, "I have tons of evidence on the way. Don't worry, the evidence is going to get released." We found out what she meant when she was talking about the evidence is a Kraken is coming. So, you know Maria Bartiromo?
Yes.
She's another Fox News host, especially crazy, this one. I think she might be one of the few that actually believe everything that she says. Sidney Powell got onto her show from a email that she got from what is basically a total stranger. And Sidney Powell wanted to get on Bartiromo's show so that she could talk about this email chain without specifically citing it as her source.
Yeah.
And so she forwarded this email chain to Bartiromo. Bartiromo's like, "Okay, you can come on the show." And we got what this email chain was functionally composed of. Not only was it composed of, the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump, but it also, the sender, who again was a complete stranger to Sidney Powell, in this email said, quote, this is just one part.
Just someone who, complete stranger,
just like a person.
Doesn't. We could have sent this.
So again, this was Sidney Powell's ticket onto Fox News to talk about election fraud that didn't happen, okay? The sender said in the same email that she used as her source, Justice Scalia was purposely killed at the annual Bohemian Grove camp during a week-long human hunting expedition. She goes on and said, the former Fox News CEO Roger Ailes, who died in 2017, by the way, and Rupert Murdoch secretly huddle most days to determine how to best portray Mr. Trump as badly as possible. That was a claim that this email made. Another one, this is a direct quote, "Who am I, and how do I know all of this? I've had the strangest dreams since I was a little girl. I was internally decapitated, and yet I live. The wind tells me I'm a ghost, but I don't believe it."
What the fuck?
Bro, speaking with spirits. And finally, she also said that she gets her info from, quote, she gets her info from a, quote, time-traveling, semi-conscious state that allows her to see what others don't see and what others don't hear. So that's a really credible source to use. And this is what Sidney Powell used to get in front of millions of people and talk on Fox News, and they knew about it. They knew this was her source, and they let her use it.
She had bad weed like one time and instantly just down the rabbit hole from there. She's like, holy shit, I'm seeing things. I can see things. I'm making connections. Other people don't get it. Other people don't get it. I can see everything. I was decapitated as a little girl, yet I still live.
The wind tells me.
I am a ghost in the wind.
Like, this was back when we heard, like, this is the crack and this is, we have so much evidence that we're going to unveil. This is what it was.
Holy
you think they used this in court?
Oh, there's some crack in there. I can tell you that.
Like, there's no chance they filed this in court.
You got to be smoking crazy dick to tell me that's what got her on Fox News.
Justice Scalia was killed at Bohemian Grove. Like, bro, come on. You know what Bohemian Grove is, right?
No.
It's a conspiracy theory that, like, all the old white men go to Bohemian Grove and, like, have gay sex. That's all the old white DC men, that's what they do. It's one of those, and I'm sure it's, like, the Jews' fault somehow, right? Like, that's probably what it is.
For sure. It's
But yeah, I thought that was pretty nutty. That's what got her on Fox News. And again, they knew this was her source. They knew this is what she was citing. She didn't say that on air, obviously. But they knew this is what it was. I mean, you could say at best it's like negligence. At worst, it's malicious action.
I don't even think
elections.
At best you can say that this is negligence.
Yeah.
Like, this is too much. Like this.
And at the same time,
the winds speak to me.
Yeah. At the same time, these same hosts and Rupert Murdoch, the owner again of Fox News, were acknowledging that they're at the same time they're acknowledging the reporting is full of lies and they keep pushing the same lies. They also actively impeded fact checks on Trump. More specifically, there was a Fox News reporter, an employee of Fox News. Her name was Jackie Heinrich. She fact-checked Trump. I think one of his tweets on a Dominion voting systems lie, something about election fraud, it doesn't matter specifically what it was. And the higher-ups were disgusted at what she said. Tucker Carlson sent a message to Hannity to try to get her fired, all for just fact-checking Donald Trump. And the worry here, and again, this was happening before January 6th at the same time that Trump was going off about how he had the election stolen. The worry here, according to the text that Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, et cetera, sent, was that Newsmax was getting more viewers than they were. Because Newsmax
was popping at the time.
Pushing the lies a lot harder than they were.
Yeah.
Because Fox News, if you remember, called Arizona for Joe Biden before any other station
so
did.
gas.
And
that was so fucking crazy. When
Trump
they did that.
was really upset about that. And even the more moderates like Brett Baer, I think, messaged that like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Like, we shouldn't have called it for Donald Trump, or we shouldn't have called it for Joe.
I remember watching that live, and they brought out like the statistics, like the math people at Fox News to come explain why they called it so early.
Yeah.
And they had to sit there and they were showing their equations. They're like, it is mathematically impossible with how many votes are in from what areas they're in from that Donald Trump can win Arizona. It's not happening.
That was gas.
And they called it like 3 hours before AP called it. Crazy.
Yeah. And now my theory here, of course, is that they were afraid that a group like Newsmax or, the rising OAN was going to take more of the market share away from them. And so they latched on to the election fraud stories and platform people like Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani because they wanted to get the money. They wanted to get the views. And so, again, their business model is selling lies to get views and attention so that they don't lose their base. Because they knew if they push back against Trump or they push back against the election lie, they were going to lose viewers, which means they lose money.
Yeah.
So my theory that they just went along with it knowing that they were lying because they wanted money.
But it's like even adding to like the fact that they knew that they were lying, right? Rudy Giuliani was disbarred for the shit that he did regarding the election fraud case. And yet they still
had his house raided
him
by the
on
FBI.
Fox News.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not malicious and known lying, like what is?
Yeah.
What standard could there possibly be that's worse than this?
Yeah, we're not attorneys, obviously. Like, I don't know defamation law or anything like that. But from an outsider's perspective, just looking at this news story,
As a layman.
yeah, it seems hard to not agree that Fox News, knowingly lied. They did it for money. They were doing it maliciously to spread lies about the 2020 election so that they could get Donald Trump's approval.
Yeah.
Why else would they do it? Because they were clearly
still
taking
didn't
on.
even get Trump's approval.
Yeah,
He shat on Fox News for like 4 months after that.
Yeah. And now the defense coming out of Fox News seems to be that they're saying, oh, well, it is the classic we're just asking questions line. They're basically saying that, oh, we're just afraid that the electronic voting machines can be hacked. That's all that we were saying, which obviously is not the case. But the company even specifically came back and said that the lawsuit isn't happening because they're discussing vulnerabilities within the system or anything like that. It's happening because they said that the company, through Hugo Chavez, rigged the election for Joe Biden. And I think that's pretty clear. They platformed those beliefs. Yeah. Or at the very least didn't challenge them whatsoever when they were brought up several times to them. So I think they got Fox News red-handed here. And I think the lawsuit's for like 1.6 billion or something like that. So a pretty big chunk of money. Not that Fox News can't make it up, but still, it's
and not that it's really going to dent their listeners. It's not like their listeners are going to be like, oh damn, Fox News, they really got us. They're just going to double down further.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't double down further, everything they've sort of built their conservative identity off of for the last year and a half, 2 years, would just be a lie.
Yeah, and they can't admit to it.
Absolutely
right?
not. They are way too far far into it.
You had Tucker Carlson on last week, I think, right before this story dropped, questioning the results of the election again, saying how did Joe Biden get this many more votes than Obama? How did he get this many more votes than Donald Trump did? Obvious, they're still doing it. They don't regret it.
It comes to just every candidate platforming election law conspiracies.
Yeah,
election denial conspiracies. Just every even in the midterms.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It's like, oh, well, if the 2020 election wasn't secure, how can we say that the midterms were secure? We were supposed to have a red wave, but we didn't.
Right.
It can't really be our fault.
Yeah, and it's it's going to resurface, right?
Yeah.
This kind of thing in 2024, absolutely, especially if Trump is the candidate.
It's going to happen at the RNC and at the primaries.
Yeah. He's going to say
the debates once they start.
You probably even during the primary election, Trump's going to be like, if I don't win, then it's rigged.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to say.
The RNC is rigging this against me.
Yeah, exactly. For Meatball Ron. And now my conclusion here is that we all know that conservatives lie, right? They do it for a living. It's how they get paid. It is how they justify their worldview. But the most stark example of them lying and knowingly lying and just not caring about it, I think, is the 2020 election, because we have textual evidence here with Fox News and the lawsuit with Dominion that they were knowingly lying. They were telling each other that they knew they were lying about the 2020 election fraud stories, and they continued going on with it. They knew they were lying just to get views, just to get Trump's approval, and these lies eventually led to an insurrection on the Capitol. They lied so hard that they caused an insurrection because they pushed the same propaganda and they knew they were lying about it. This is what conservatives do. This is what Fox News does. It's crazy to me that anybody could ever look at Fox News and think that they are a legitimate news organization. They are wholly just a propaganda arm of the GOP. And if you look at this Dominion story and how they're being sued,
identify themselves as a propaganda arm of the GOP, as an entertainment division.
If you look at this Dominion lawsuit that the company Dominion is waging against Fox News, and you don't think that Fox News is just totally illegitimate, not a news organization whatsoever, just a propaganda arm, I don't know what to tell you. You're purposely covering your eyes.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And the common retort you'll hear is like, oh, but CNN and liberal media does it too. They just cover for the Democrats. It's like, find me an example
as egregious as this.
Yeah, as egregious as Fox News willingly and knowingly lying about the 2020 election and causing an insurrection. You're not going to find it.
Yeah.
Does CNN play cover for liberals sometimes?
For
sure. But they don't do it to this extent. They don't so hard. They don't go so hard supporting the lies of the people that are ideologically aligned with them that they cause an insurrection or help cause an insurrection on the government.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dog. You're out of your fucking mind if you think these things are the same. But that wraps up the Fox News story. Conservatives lie.
That's lie, deny.
Yeah.
My motto, baby.
That's what I'm saying. I guess, I said I support liars at the beginning of this episode.
Real.
But this lying that causes an insurrection, not a fan.
Yeah, that kind of lying, bad. The kind of lying I do, good.
Oh, exactly. I like good things. I don't like bad things.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's classic take.
Precisely.
Now, this next section I have for you all.
Oh, over to the Sunshine State.
A little bit of Beyond Parody.
Ooh.
We're talking about Florida, and we're talking about Florida Republicans going woke. And look, folks, cancel culture, it's feared. It's dreaded. It's ran from. People do not want to be around it. Cancel culture, we're all terminally afraid that one day the cancel culture beast will come for us.
Look at every washed up comedian and look at what they talk about.
Exactly.
It's cancel culture because it's real and it's going to get you.
It got Dave Chappelle. It got Donald Trump. It got Jeffrey Epstein.
It got that one lady that Fox has been pushing really hard for her new comedy special.
It got that dude that exposed himself to underage girls or whatever, or just women.
It got Louis C.K. for
That's who I'm thinking of.
Fucking beating off while talking to women on the phone.
That's what it was. Cancel culture. It's a dangerous thing. And the woke mind virus, we've said it's infectious.
Yeah,
we talked about it. We talked about how we've been infected. I beat my case, thankfully. But the woke mind virus has got into the minds of the GOP in Florida because they're doing some canceling now.
No.
And you all may be saying, okay, and I hear you. What are you talking about? Like the Florida GOP, they are the vanguard against the cancel culture, the cancel culture wave. And I'll just read a title from the article of that NBC put out. They said, quote, Florida Republicans pitch bill to eliminate Florida Democratic Party. If that's not cancellation, I don't know what is.
They're trying to cancel the Democratic Party. They're trying to do a cancel culture.
And like I hear what you're saying again. Like this is classic authoritarianism. You know, this is what authoritarians do. They just completely destroy any opposition that they have to their ideology or the major factions of opposition, so that they don't have to deal with them. You know, Republicans, the only real opposition they have is Democrats. So like, how is this wokeness, right? How is this cancel culture? How is this wokeness? Well, this is an act submitted by Senator Blaise Ingoglia, which I think is a repeating character, right? Didn't you?
Oh my God! Yeah, last week.
Yeah, last week we talked about Blaise Ingoglia.
Oh my goodness! I can't remember what bill she did, but it was bad. I do remember that.
So Senator Ingoglia back at it with the bills, and this bill is called, quote, the Ultimate Cancel Act. And this bill, quote, would require the state's Division of Elections to immediately cancel the filings of any political party whose platform had previously advocated for or been in support of slavery or involuntary solitude.
Come on,
or
man.
servitude. So that's a big cancellation, and the bill would also change the party affiliation of voters of these parties to no affiliation, because you got to affiliate with the party in Florida to vote in primaries.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some states do that, but Florida is one of them that do that. So obviously, this bill doesn't specifically cite the Democratic Party as a party that's just eliminated, but of course, the Democratic Party in the early and mid 1800s defended slavery, right? They were the ones on the side of slavery. The Democratic Party was.
And of course, the party switch never happened.
And the party switch never happened. So this law would ban the Democratic Party in the state of Florida, because previously they had supporting the institution of slavery and segregation, etc., on the party platform. So no more Democratic Party. That's what this bill does.
It's the ultimate cancel act too. We're doing the best cancel. We're doing the biggest cancel. We're doing the ultimate cancel culture on the Democrats. Let's see how they like it. Let's give them a taste of their own medicine.
Yeah, and now this is probably the most unserious bill we've ever covered.
Oh, absolutely.
This is silly, right? Like, because it's clear what you're trying to do. You're just looking for a reason to get rid of the opposition party in your state.
Just posturing.
Yeah,
it's like something like this obviously couldn't pass.
Right.
Definitely wouldn't pass. And even in keeping with this, I've got another story that I kept off the books.
Oh, okay.
I kept off the books. It's also the Sunshine State, Florida, and it also has to do with the Florida State Senator and triple whammy. It also has to do with cancel culture.
Oh, it's all the same?
It's not all the same.
You're on theme?
But it's close. We're very on theme here.
Okay.
We are very much on
message.
theme.
Message discipline.
So in Tampa, Florida Senator Jason Border, that's got to be a French name. No wonder he's so bad.
Francophobia.
This guy, he wants bloggers who write about Governor Ron DeSantis, Attorney General Ashley Moody, and other members of the Florida Executive Cabinet or Legislature to register with the state or face fines.
What the hell?
He's proposed a bill in the Florida State Senate so if you're a blogger who writes about any like political candidate in Florida, but he's only specifically mentioned the Republicans in Florida, you must register yourself with the state. You have to submit statements of any money that you've made off of that blog to the state. And I think it mentions something about having to like submit transcripts of the blogs to the state.
That's crazy.
It doesn't say anything about explicitly censoring them.
Yeah.
But come on. That's like the next step on the road here.
Yeah, because that system is like, where are my enemies at? Right?
No, literally,
like, that's all that is.
Anyone who I'm going to keep tabs on every single person who comments on me, and I'm going to keep tabs on anyone who's financially benefiting from that, and I'm going to maybe presumably in the future punish them for that, because that's where this leads to. That's where something like this leads to, and that is literally kind of cancel culture on just bloggers too.
What is the point of that system other than I'm gonna know where people that don't like me are at?
Yeah,
like what?
And I'm gonna know exactly how much money they make.
And these are the same people that are like, oh, it's an infringement on my Second Amendment rights to have me register to get a firearm.
Yeah,
it's an infringement on my Second Amendment rights to have me do a background check to get a firearm. Yeah, like, but I thought you cared about the First Amendment.
Isn't that just fucking insane?
Yeah.
His whole justification for it is to say, well, I don't want like PACs coming in. I don't want political candidates paying these bloggers to write good fluff pieces like about them and that not be disclosed.
So then make it illegal to spend your money in that way.
Yeah.
In the state of Florida.
No, literally just do campaign finance reform.
Yes.
Do campaign spending reform. Like that's all you have to do. Don't make bloggers register with the state if they talk about Governor Ron DeSantis.
That is ridiculous. Just to talk about politicians.
Insane.
We'd have to register with the state.
That's what I was thinking when I was reading. I was like, fuck, what if Head in the Office was in Florida?
We talk about politicians literally all the time.
Every episode we talk about Meatball Ron.
No, yeah, that's crazy. Like, how did they not view this as 1984 Big Brother George Orwell?
We just dropped an episode called Meatball Ron. Yeah. If we were in Florida, we'd have to register that and send that in to this guy.
We'd get the studio raided by the state police. Oh my god, they'd walk in with the alligators or whatever they got down there.
Fuck it. They go to the Florida and they drop us in the Everglades. Fend for yourself. That's the punishment.
Yeah.
Barefoot.
Yeah. Jumping back to this cancel the Democratic Party bill.
Yeah.
I have a bit of here's the kicker, right?
Okay.
So this bill, it wants to ban any political party that was previously affiliated with supporting the institution of slavery or protecting the institution of slavery, whatever it may be.
But weren't all political parties in America previously in support of slavery?
We don't got to talk about that. That's not right, Gage.
No, Gage. The party switch never happened. The Republicans are the party of Lincoln, and that's when history started.
This bill is inconsistent, okay? But I think we should let the sponsor of this bill talk for themselves.
Okay.
Because they explained what the point of this bill was, all right?
Sounds good.
You ready?
Yeah.
They said, here's a quote from, I think it's, NBC. Quote from NBC. Ingoglia suggested in a news release that his bill was designed to get back at Democrats and leftist activists who he said had been trying to cancel people and companies for things they had said or done in the past, including the removal of statues and memorials and the renaming of buildings.
Oh my God.
Whose statues were being removed? Was it members of the Confederacy? Was that who Democrats were trying to get statues taken out? Were they trying to rename buildings that were named after like Jefferson Davis or whatever the fuck the president of the Confederacy was? Maybe? Come on.
Crazy. Come on. Also, this person's a he?
Oh, I think so.
Not gonna lie, I just kind of assumed from the name that it was a guy. I think I did. My bad.
Don't get canceled.
Yeah, they're
canceled.
Yeah, all these leftist listeners, they're gonna fucking cancel me for accidentally misgendering the conservative senator.
Blaise Ingoglia. That's all I know. But yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Ingoglia's justification for this bill was that Democrats and leftist activists keep trying to remove statues. Who are the statues dedicated to? I wonder if it's slave owners of the past.
It reminds me. I saw a clip this week of Bill Maher doing an interview, and he was talking about like liberals, and somebody asked him, "Well, Bill, what does woke mean to you?" And Bill Maher doesn't obviously start talking about like woke and defining woke and maybe why it's bad. Instead, he starts talking about how Democrats, liberals used to be for liberalism, and now they're anti-liberalism because they're woke, and now Democrats are the ones that are tearing down statues of Abraham Lincoln and trying to remove his name off of schools.
Yeah, the one where he's like stepping on a black person.
Exactly. That's the only Abraham Lincoln statue that's removed is the one where a black person is kneeling at his feet crying.
That one's out of pocket.
Abe's not even looking at him. He's just looking up and away. And in a way, that's like the realist Abe Lincoln statue because like it's a well-known historical fact that he was not personally pro-abolition.
Yeah, no.
He only did it to keep the country together. He did not like black people.
Yeah.
He was not Mark. He was not rocking with you.
And a lot of people often don't realize that, yes, the Civil War happened because of slavery, right? The South didn't want to give up their slaves, so they split off from the Union. But the other half of that is that they wanted to tell the federal government to go shove it when having to pay tariffs. Mm-hmm. The South didn't want to have to pay tariffs on the goods that they were moving around.
Despite
and that's one
free
of the
labor.
Reasons. And they were like, we should be able to legislate that we don't have to follow the rule of the federal government. And Abe Lincoln was like, no, otherwise, what's the point of having a federal government? That's the other half of why the Civil War happened, by the way, for those that don't know. Now, of course,
and again, states' rights. Don't forget.
A states' right to.
Don't forget a states' right. We don't have to go there.
Okay. And again, this is all totally bad faith because Blaise Ingoglia and no person in the GOP cares about slavery, cares about the effects of slavery. They just want an impetus to shut down the only viable opposition to their ideology, which is the Democratic Party. And of course, with this whole journalist thing and everything else they've done, they're finding many ways to shut down opposition and potential resistance to their ideology.
Oh, yeah.
It's none of it's in good faith. But
Florida Republican Party popping off.
Oh yeah. I do really love this idea from Republicans that the party switch didn't happen, though, because it is one of the most well-documented pieces of American political history, but they just have to deny its existence. Otherwise, they're the bad guys, right? They have to.
It's like even with the KKK, right? Like, who do they identify with now?
Who does the KKK vote for?
The Grand Wizard isn't voting Democrat anymore. I can tell you that.
Right.
I can tell you that.
And it's super simple to understand, the party switch, super simple to understand, because the politics of the South have remained generally the same. Right?
Yeah.
The only thing that's changed is the party that the South supports following shifts in the party's values that they hold and the different people they're appealing to, right? Because after the Great Depression, FDR and other Democrats after him followed suit to start appealing to labor unions and to black voters as a means of winning elections. And obviously, a lot of FDR's policies were like racist. They excluded, they directly targeted Asian people. Black people were excluded from a lot of New Deal legislation. Both parties were very racist back then, obviously. But the point was that they were appealing to the needs of these voters, which encouraged black voters and people that supported labor unions to start voting for Democrats. And civil rights were quickly added to the party platform in the 1950s for the Democrats. And as this ideological shift happened, Republicans started getting clapped. So they started appealing to the angry old Democratic voters who were like, what the hell? Why are you supporting black people now?
Yeah, what the fuck, guys? You switched up.
The angry Southern voters for the Democratic Party, they were like, yeah, you switched up. Why are you not supporting the proud white American anymore? And so Republicans designed strategies like the Southern strategy to start appealing to these voters as a means of recuperating themselves as a political party. And obviously, this process didn't happen immediately. It was it was pushed forward by things like Roe v. Wade in the 1970s, when pro-life and pro-choice became a major divide in the country. But now, in this nation, conservatives are decidedly Republican. Just as in the past, conservatives were decidedly Democrat. Crazy how things change like that.
I don't understand, because we argue with people on our Instagram comments about this sometimes too.
Yeah.
It's almost as if some conservatives just think that the party switch is some magical time in the 50s or 60s where Democrats said, I'm just going to be a Republican now, call me Republican.
Yeah, like
and
one day.
Republicans said, oh, actually, we're Democrats now. Like everyone just switched registrations.
Yeah.
It's they can't comprehend systems and how systems play into these things and demographic change. It's like they can't comprehend anything. You know?
Yeah, like, I mean, when a president like FDR starts pushing forward legislation that helps labor unions, which black people were a part of, and that generally helps people in need of welfare, of which black people are a part of the group in the country that need welfare because they've been robbed historically of their wealth, obviously they're going to support him over a guy like Herbert Huber. And then suddenly the entire country starts looking blue on electoral maps because FDR was super popular, not only among black voters and people that supported labor unions, but people in the South that typically voted Democrat. And then over time, as those old Democrats died off and the new generation took shape, the people that had the same ideology as the old Democrats just started voting Republican because that's the party they've had supporting their beliefs their entire life.
Yeah.
It's obviously as much a generational shift as much as it's been a political shift, but it is a shift that happened that historians do not deny because it was a real thing.
Exactly. And it's also just like, was it Woodrow Wilson, the screening of Birth of a Nation?
One of the most racist people of all time.
Exactly. Democrat.
Yeah.
Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. As flawed as he was, still, you can't deny the shift in personal politics there.
Right,
you know?
Exactly. And even if you want a more just like recent understanding of the party switch, like who's trying to whitewash history today? Who's banning books on Martin Luther King? Who's attacking CRT today? It's not the Democratic Party. Who wants to keep up statues of members of the Confederacy? It's the Republican Party.
What party is banning AP African American studies from the schools in their state?
It's the Republicans.
Yeah.
If we trace the ideology of these parties throughout history, obviously they've changed. But the core groups that support various different modes of discrimination, the ideologies are generally the same. The names of the parties have changed though.
Yeah.
It's just it's weird to even think that the parties don't change over time anyway. Like obviously.
Oh, for sure. Like values just change.
Yeah.
Change just happens. And I guess that's just antithetical to what conservatives believe anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, they do like believing the opposite of what empirics tell them. You know
True.
what I mean?
They like tradition until tradition takes them back before the party switch when they would have to act like a Democrat.
Yeah. Like this idea that the party switch didn't happen, not only is it nonsense, but I also think it's kind of malicious.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's a reason that politicians want to muddy the waters as to who in this nation should be considered a white supremacist. Mm-hmm. And that's to cover for the white supremacy that they want to do.
Yeah.
If someone is intentionally confusing or, offering vague gestures as to who is a white supremacist in this country, it's probably because they want to cover for their own white supremacy.
Yeah.
People that say the party switch didn't happen very clearly are trying to push a narrative. And they're trying to push the narrative that they're on the good guy side. They're the party of Lincoln, when Lincoln would have been a fucking Dem today.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's all that they want to do. They want to say, again, they're the party of Lincoln and the party of Reagan. They want to link the two so that you think they're good, because in the American school system, you're only ever taught about how Abe Lincoln personally wanted to free the slaves. He did not.
No, he didn't.
He did not. He freed the slaves. He didn't personally want to do it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're taught about Abe Lincoln like he's just this perfect hero, the perfect president who freed the slaves and only did good things. And so, of course, they would want to identify themselves with Abe Lincoln and with the people who won the Civil War.
Yeah, and even on top of that, there will be people. I've seen people that deny that the Southern strategy ever happened. Right?
Yeah.
The Southern strategy, something we've talked about before, generally was this strategy from the American Republican Party to appeal to racism and bigotry in the South.
Also,
as a means of winning elections.
Evidence to suggest that the Southern strategy happened.
There's been several Republican strategists over the course of history, over decades of history, that have said we don't say the N-word anymore. We say, and they would say the N-word, of course. We don't say insert N-word anymore. We say forced busing. We say school integration.
Yeah.
And today that's just we say immigrants at the border, crime as a nebulous concept in the inner cities.
We covered this a couple months ago. It was the Nixon guy.
Yeah.
The advisor for Nixon
It was for Nixon. It was for Reagan. It was for just about every Republican that has served in office since the 1960s. Mm-hmm. The Southern strategy is a very real thing, and people will deny that it happened because if they acknowledge that it happened, and it did happen, then they have to acknowledge that Republicans wholly base their platform on hatred and racism.
Yeah.
And of course that extends to homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, etc.
All the phobias. All the bad ones.
Misogyny, that's a big one.
Misogyny.
So yeah, not great. And I also feel like this hyper focus on parties that they have, because they have the same names, you know what I mean, betrays the sort of tribalism that they have. Me personally, I am not committed to voting for the Democratic Party.
Never.
I will vote for whoever aligns with my values, and right now that happens to be the Democratic Party. But if it were ever the case that we got Party Switch 2, and the GOP started advocating for civil rights and, economic reforms, economic populism, then I would support them too.
And I'm the party of Lincoln, baby. Let's go.
Exactly. I'm switching up, but they're not going to do that. They're still the party of hatred, so I'm not going to vote for them. I just think that people that are so committed to Democrat or Republican as a name it's kind of silly. I don't know.
It's really
weird.
silly, and I guess it's again, conservatives seem like conservatives like this just can't understand change, right? They can't separate that words and meaning changes over time,
right.
too. Even tangentially related, it brings me back to discourse from about 10 years ago when you would hear everybody's parents say ain't a word, or ain't isn't a word.
You don't ask me a question.
Exactly.
You ask me a question.
Exactly. And obviously ignoring just the racist undertones that shit happens.
Of course.
They can't understand that language is going to change over time and trends in language are going to change.
Yeah. Yeah,
ridiculous.
No, exactly. Yeah, they don't really get it. Also, I was just I don't know why this floated into my head. You remember when PragerU did a video calling John Brown a radical abolitionist, a terrorist?
Yeah, that shit was so funny.
PragerU is another propaganda arm in addition to Fox News of the Republican Party, and they're out here saying, "Oh, we're the party of Lincoln," but John Brown was a radical abolitionist.
They open up the video, radical abolitionist
in a negative way.
John Brown. Oh my! John Brown is history's quirked up white boy.
Yeah,
he was the guy that was very anti-slavery and for the right. He gave his life to the cause, literally.
He's just like me for real.
Literally, and technically, I think he was hung on charges of sedition or something, treason.
Yeah,
but good. The sedition he was doing and the treason he was doing was good.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can frame that by saying, "Oh, traitor, John Brown."
Also, with this Florida bill, if it does pass and get signed into law, is any party that is supported establishing private prisons or even like state penitentiaries, are they gonna be banned?
Yeah,
because they do slavery there.
I mean, also, isn't that unconstitutional? Not even because of the First Amendment, but because slavery is still legal within the Constitution.
You would think so, right?
Because there are explicit carve-outs within the oh god, what's the amendment that outlawed slavery?
13th Amendment.
The 13th Amendment, saying that slavery is illegal unless you are imprisoned, except for those
punishment
in
for a
prison.
crime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can still do slavery.
You can.
Yeah.
Completely legal and
it
constitutional.
all over the country.
Oh, and it's happening, let me tell you.
Yeah. So, I don't imagine this will pass, or if it does pass, I can see, like, violations of the First Amendment in this bill. Like, you can't.
And 13th, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Supreme Court decides to uphold slavery.
Yeah, so that's my little my story about how Florida Republicans have gone woke. Can't trust them anymore. They're infected.
Yeah, can't trust them. They got it.
Infected.
The woke mind virus, it's getting everybody.
It's bad.
Looks like all that keeping up your immune system you did during COVID didn't work out for you.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Fucking meatball Ron.
That's right. Well, next we have to talk about punishing CEOs and corporations for their bad behavior.
Ooh.
Specifically, that's right. Specifically this time we're talking about Starbucks, baby. Starbies.
Ooh,
don't get your coffee. Yeah, just it's kind of tasty sometimes. But anyway, following up on a story from last year regarding
it's tasty
because
the workers.
Union. Exactly. It's not tasty because of Howard Schultz. Or that, I think that's his
Whatever
name.
his name is.
It's tasty because you're a local barista. But following up on the story we covered last year, talking about the Starbucks union in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, okay.
A federal judge has just ruled that Starbucks violated, quote, hundreds of labor laws during the campaign to unionize the Buffalo location.
And it's pretty obvious. I would agree.
Yeah, and now I'm pretty much going to read you the punishments.
Okay.
Per CBS News, as a result, Starbucks now must reopen a closed location in New York because the judge found that it was closed amid significant union activity. Reinstate 7 fired workers. Give financial restitution to 27 additional workers for violations like not granting time off and other shit. In the investigation, the NLRB judge, Michael Rosas, found that Starbucks threatened employees, spied on employees, and selectively enforced strict dress codes and other policies like that. Rosas also ruled that Starbucks must post a 13-page notice at all of its stores listing their labor violations and a list of workers' rights.
Okay.
And the order also requires Starbucks interim CEO Howard Schultz to read or be present at a reading of employees' rights and distribute a recording of the reading to all Starbucks U.S. employees.
That's gas.
That's so fucking sick.
That is fantastic.
He literally threw the book at this guy, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it, baby. That is so cool. I also like the personal humiliation of Howard Schultz is also great.
Damn.
You know,
they didn't get a favorable Starbucks judge in this case.
No, no, not
Starbucks
at all.
judge.
Holy shit, just personally humiliate this guy and send it out to all Starbucks employees.
That's fantastic
We
news.
need to get this guy to rule on the Amazon case, on
my
the
God.
Bessemer, Alabama union busting. Because holy shit, the punishment that would come to Jeff has got to be crazy.
Oh my God, I know.
It's got to be
And
crazy.
it's like I'm listening as you read off like everything that this guy did. Fired workers, wouldn't give financial restitution, threatened employees, spied on them, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I just
closed the whole store.
I just keep thinking, like, what if it was a government body doing this to people? Republicans would lose their fucking mind.
Absolutely.
If it was like a Democratic administration, like, doing this thing to their workers or just doing this to, like, people in general, that's crazy. And we're just fine with it when it happens in the private sector. Well, I guess we're fine with it when a private company does it. Because that's seen as like, oh, well, you chose to work there. You're there.
Yeah.
So you just get that. That's just what happens.
Yeah, and it's also like when I first read it, I was like, damn, that punishment, that sounds like kind of crazy. But it's like not. If a public official were to do something
it's
like
not nearly
this,
far enough.
they would be dragged through the mud as well. I think CEOs should be dragged through the fucking mud when they decide to do union busting and
jail.
violate, quote, literally violate hundreds of existing labor laws. Like that's nuts. And then you're playing with people's livelihood here when you fire them, when you close stores, when you deny time off, and like you're fucking with people like that.
Yeah.
And he gets on and they boast about how we're such a family here at Starbucks.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it was. We covered it again, but Howard Schultz, I'm sure he said something stupid. You can find the episode and figure out what he said. But yeah, fuck that guy. That's so funny that he has to make a video and send it to everyone.
No, yeah, I'm so glad. That's awesome.
Might have to go apply to Starbucks just to get the video. You know what I'm saying?
That's absolute
Just to
gas.
take pictures of the 13 pages of labor law violations that they did.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be posted like on social media somewhere.
It's
I'm sure
got
it'll
to.
go viral because I mean, yeah, this is this is huge. And I don't know, obviously, we've only been alive for so long. Pretty young people on the mics over here. But to me, this is significant. Like, you don't see stuff like this happen very often.
Usually it's like, okay, you have to reinstate fired workers.
And that's it.
Financially do financial restitution.
Back pay, yeah.
Back pay, exactly. And we're going to fine you. Like somehow.
Yeah, well, because I think labor law in this country has been gutted, either gutted or just not utilized at all.
Not enforced.
And it's gotten to the point where a lot of the time, if you get fired unjustly for doing union activity, you either just stay fired and move on as a worker, because sometimes that's easier, or if you want to go through the whole 2-year-long process, you get reinstated, back pay, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, the court doesn't think you deserve any other damages, because it's like, oh, well, you would have been working, so you get, whatever your wages would have been for the last year.
Whatever your shitty wages were that you could barely live off anyway, we'll give you those.
They just plop you back into the same situation that forced you or pushed you towards unionization anyway, and you still don't have a union.
Because that's what I was thinking of. Because usually when these things happen, why would you want to go back?
Yeah.
Like, they were forced to bring you back. They're gonna find a way to push you back out. Mm-hmm. They don't want you there.
Yeah, or they'll just like ostracise you. They'll make you a pariah. They'll tell other employees to not fuck with you.
Exactly.
Like, they may not push back against you again, since you have like legal history of like fighting for yourself, and the judge may side with you again if they're like, oh, they're just fucking with the same dude again. They're clearly discriminating again. But yeah, they're not gonna it's not gonna be good for you to go back. But I admire people that do go back and just continue to fight.
Facts, because that's cool.
Sick. That's cool.
That's sick, and that's base.
Yeah.
But it's also like, again, like, this seems like it goes far, but it does not go far enough, because what about the managers that were culpable in spying on their own employees?
Yeah.
What about that? What about the mid-level Starbucks people that were also culpable in all of this, that facilitated all this? What about the managers that care way too much about their jobs, again?
Yeah,
just doing crazy shit.
What about Howard Schultz just generally being anti-union?
Yeah.
And just continuously crushing every union that pops up? Because, like, yeah, this is great for the Buffalo location in New York, and obviously we're going to celebrate that.
And the other New York location that has to reopen now.
Yeah, like, that's sick. But what about the thousands potentially of not Amazon, Starbuckses across the country,
union busting,
that do the same thing, or just generally have anti-union behavior?
Yeah.
And maybe not even through Howard Schultz, but just through, like, again, their managerial level, the people that are one step above the employees there. Like, the union busting is a big problem. Unions are not as strong as they used to be in this country.
A lot of managers are just power tripping.
Yeah. So I don't know what you do against those people.
I don't know, but I'm glad this guy's going to be embarrassed. I think we should embarrass this guy a little more.
Oh, yeah.
Hot take, I'm pro-embarrassing bad people, anti-embarrassing good people. That's really not controversial.
I mean, like, CEOs, people that make billions off of corporations like Starbucks, they got more power than Kings had.
Exactly.
I think you should be subjected to just every
level of scrutiny,
ounce of embarrassment and scrutiny that we can muster. Bring back the God, what's the law? Glass-Steagall, is that what it was?
I don't know.
The one that breaks up companies, trust busting, all that antitrust laws. Those are gas. Bring
facts.
those back. I don't know if Starbucks qualifies as a monopoly at this point, but hit them with something.
And it's like, this is barely personally embarrassing for Howard. It's not like he has to get up there and read off all the labor violations he did. He just has to be present at a reading of workers' rights that's distributed, and then they're posting a 13-page thing. It's more embarrassing for the company as an entity. But in a better world,
because it's a person.
Exactly. Thank you, Citizens United. But in a better world where Citizens United didn't happen, corporations aren't people and shouldn't be treated as such.
Exactly.
You can throw the book at them. I think you should fine Starbucks $1 billion.
Bankrupt them, to be honest.
Fucking go crazy. Throw the book at them.
Yeah, just drain Howard Schultz's his
personal bank account
and send all the money over to every single worker.
That'd be so cool. Just distribute all of Howard Schultz's money to all of the workers.
Yeah, the ones on the floor, not the manager class.
Exactly.
They're on the wrong side of the picket line.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. Fire them, reinstate the workers as the new managers.
Force them to be a co-op, to be honest. Just force every corporation to become a co-op. That'd be pretty gas. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, what can we say?
Overnight, no problems with that.
But that's Starbucks and their sick little punishment. So
cool.
That's cool.
Now, we got 2 news stories to end out the episode. Very short, very brief. We'll just go over them quickly since they haven't fully developed, but I thought they were worth including in this episode.
Yeah.
The first one is that the Supreme Court began hearing arguments on Joe Biden's student debt relief plan, and a decision is expected to come in the summer. There's no major update on this since it was just hearings and just Supreme Court justices asking questions, but generally, as you can predict, the conservatives seem very skeptical of this, and they're probably going to vote it down 6-3 or 5-4.
It's more a teaser for what's to come in like 2-3 months.
Yeah. It's I don't think it's going to be great. And the current Republican line of attack, which isn't new, is that this is a bailout for the wealthy. That's what they call Joe Biden's student debt relief plan.
Come on.
And I'm not just making this up, and I'm not just like saying they're saying this, but because chair of the RNC, Ronna McDaniel, Republican National Committee, she said that, quote, while hardworking families struggle with soaring costs, Biden is giving a handout to the rich, and voters see right through this desperate vote grab. And again, she's talking about student debt relief. I'm not the rich.
I'm not the rich. I can tell you that. Absolutely not.
Like, okay, you can maybe, I don't even know how you can make the argument that student debt relief is for the rich. Like, statistically, it's not. Like, no, what is it? Like 90% of Joe Biden's proposed plan goes to people making less than $75,000 a year. It's means tested. So if you make more than $250,000 as a household a year, you can't get any student debt relief.
You're not getting it.
It's impossible for this to go to the wealthy.
And the people who got Pell Grants to go to school get double.
Yes.
Because you're not rich if you got Pell Grants to go to school.
Yeah, you're struggling if you got Pell Grants.
And even if you do come out of school more well off, like with a great job, right? If you had to pay your way through all of school because you come from a lower income background and you went up a class when you got a job, you are still held back and bogged down by that debt.
Yeah, and you can't spend as much as you would. The economy suffers.
Exactly.
Our economy functions off of consumerism, so student debt relief is only ever a good thing. I can't believe, like, this is relief for the wealthy. Are you fucking serious?
They were not saying this when we bailed out Wall Street.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
Exactly.
They were not saying this when Trump did Trump's tax cuts.
Or the PPP loan forgiveness.
Exactly.
Nobody complained about that. But the moment Joe Biden tries to do one good thing for a group that never gets any real attention, suddenly he's bailing out the wealthy.
We should have got a PPP loan.
Yeah.
We should have got it. We should have just tried.
That'd have been gas. One other story I have here before we leave today is that Ron DeSantis, Meatball Ron, took a page out of Hitler's book because there's a bill being introduced in the Florida legislature, again, Florida, we're back on Florida, to ban gender studies at the collegiate level, just outright ban it in Florida. And DeSantis seems to be in support. And the reason I call this a page out of Hitler's book is because attacking gender studies and gender literature, of course, is a hallmark Nazi move.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he literally wrote that in Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
Like, if this was literally a page from Hitler's book, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And again, like similar to what you brought up earlier, I don't understand how this isn't big government overreach. Yeah. Especially because to take a gender studies course in college, that's an elective. You got to choose to do that.
Or you got to choose to major in women and gender studies.
It's crazy to think that the state would just outright ban like a section of knowledge that you could pursue. So that's a fun thing Ron DeSantis is doing, just dictating what teachers can teach, what professors can teach.
Why? Because it's indoctrinating the youth.
Yeah, just like CRT, right? It's Marxism, scary.
Like, that's crazy because, again, where does this end?
Yeah.
Like, where does it end? It ends at anything that the state doesn't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
nuts. Yeah. Like George Orwell, 1994, baby.
No, it's literally George Orwell, 2001. Like it's exactly like, because how this is literally the Ministry of Truth deciding what is like what people get to know about, what knowledge people can pursue. It's gender studies. Like, so few people actually go through a gender studies major in college anyway. I bet even fewer in Florida. Mm-hmm. And to just attack those departments and however many public colleges they have, public universities, like what's the point? Other than suppressing information you think shouldn't get out.
There is no point. It's just culture war posturing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like this should be a violation of like some First Amendment thing.
I think
yet
so
again.
Too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the legality behind it. Mm-hmm. I'm not a lawyer. This isn't legal advice.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But that just feels like so extra wrong. Like, we've gone beyond just banning books, and now we're banning general topics of knowledge.
Like, I know we laugh about it, but it is extremely worrying. Yeah. Like, it's not great. Ron DeSantis out here just doing Nazi shit.
Fuck, dude. Next, are they going to ban any like chemistry class or biology class talking about the COVID vaccine? You absolutely cannot talk about mRNA vaccines anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
You cannot talk about black people anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, biology classes eventually can't talk about like fucking evolution or whatever. Yeah. Like, eventually they're just enforcing their own ideology.
That is where things could go, right? Because gender studies, the accusation is already baseless, but I can understand this from like a culture war framework, why this would be advantageous for them to do. But then if the GOP were to seize more power and the U.S. were to become more of a theocracy, then there really is no stopping them from just banning discussions on evolution.
Right. Right, because the idea is that, diversity programs in colleges discriminate against white people.
Yeah.
Gender studies discriminates against men, or, tells women they can be men and men they can be women, or fucking whatever the accusation is. At what point is it not...
evolution discriminates against Christians. Come on now.
No, exactly.
Yeah, easy.
At what point is it not just evolution discriminates against Christians and creationists?
Yeah.
Like, at some point, it's going to be that. I don't see how it doesn't get to that point. You know what I mean?
Holy shit.
Evolution's just
Biology
a theory.
curriculums are just going to come around to you are God's image.
Germ theory is just a theory. You don't actually have to wash your hands.
You can't fucking look at them. Come on. What the fuck? I can't see anything.
God would have made it so I could see him. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, I think this brings us to the end of the episode.
It does.
And I promised you all at the outset that I had one more special guest. And this guest actually...
Oh my God, who's calling? Bring.
This guest actually volunteered to read the patron list off today. I thought that would be
let's go. Okay.
a really special gesture. So let me just cue up this voice memo that I got, and we'll end out the episode with that.
Quick voice memo.
Hey, fellas, it's your friend from Scranton, Joey R. Biden.
Hey,
I am
Joe.
here to thank you all for listening to this episode and to remind everyone to go into the description and become a patron. Now, look, folks, if we want to win back the soul of this nation, we have to get Jeremy and Gage out of this godforsaken basement. Basements. Back when I was a kid, little Terry from next door used to go to my basement with me, and we would feet grabber, mind control. And, folks, you know what I mean. Anyway, time to read the patron list. Special thanks to Cricut Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki 9 Lives, Caden Krauth, Lord T, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Thalia Katz, 40%, Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Saplinski, Matthias, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Dylan B, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Meyer Maldando, Hunter W for Galaki, Max Vasquez. Holy hell, this list is long, longer than my leg hairs. The little kiddies used to pull on when I am, let's keep going. Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Bread, Joe Stenstrom, Austin Reed, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe, Sam 601, Colleen Cutts, Timothy Espinosa, Gregory isn't my name, Viryuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Eliza, Crawfishin, Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Niche, Big Booty Beatdown. Senate Republicans could use one of those. A big booty beatdown, I mean. I really wish I could sock those fuckers sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, let me get back to it. Moises Tejeda, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Jeremy Cadret, Ben Shapiro's boyfriend, Jonathan Cassis, Luke O'Shea, Danielle Jackson, the Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, and Jeremy's mom. Thank you all so much for supporting these real good white guys on Patreon. That list is long. You fellas are going to need a new tier reward as you grow. This is kind of unsustainable.
So right.
I know. Trump was on earlier, and I don't care. He's a bitch, and he lost in 2020 fair and square.
Wow,
anyways, thanks for having me on the show. And if you all listening, don't go become a patron. I am sending the 87,000 IRS troops after you. That's a promise, Jack. Okay, sorry. Jill says it's time for me to go into my incubation pod. Bye, guys.
Special thanks to President Joe Biden.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Special thanks to Joe Biden and Donald Trump for coming on this episode and sharing a message with our viewers. You heard them both. Got to go become a patron.
You got to now.
If that doesn't convince you, I don't know what does.
You got to become a patron so we can boost our credibility and get other former presidents on the show.
Exactly. Maybe one day.
Maybe Obama, maybe a Bill Clinton, the man who inspired it all.
Yeah, maybe. But that's only going to be possible if you all listen to the president and the former president, the real president that we had on today's show, and go become a patron because hit it to the moon. You know what I'm saying?
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.